Hi guys and welcome back to today's episode of These Inspiring Tales, where we delve into the journeys of remarkable entrepreneurs who are making a significant impact in their industries and communities in Southeast Asia. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Ashraf and Nabilah again, the second episode. The passionate founders of Aliyah Rizq Farm, founded in 2015, this family-run business started with a modest 2-acre backyard farm in Mersing, initially providing akikah and kurban services with just 30 goats and sheep. Their dedication and vision have grown Aliyah Rizq Farm into a thriving enterprise, now 200 acres of land in Desaru. Beyond expanding their operations, Ashraf and Nabilah have made significant strides in empowering low-income farmers in Indonesia and ensuring high-quality livestock supply throughout Malaysia. Thank you so much for being here again in this Inspiring Tales podcast. And and during our previous episode, we were actually discussing in terms of depression, how entrepreneurs actually go through depression. So for those who actually haven't heard the previous podcast, you can actually just go to the previous episode. But today's episode, we are gonna focus much more in terms of raising kids as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, we have to juggle a lot of things. It's unlike being an employee, right? We have a certain role that we have to do in the company, and we only work 9 to 5. Right, but as an entrepreneur, there's so many fundamentals in the business that we have to go through, like the marketing, the business development, the inventory, the manpower, a lot of things. So we are gonna delve into this much deeper. So for those who actually listening to this and haven't heard the previous episode, maybe you can actually give an intro to them.
Intro about?
We are here today with Nabilah.
Okay. My name is Nabilah Bagarib. I am a clinical psychologist, family therapist, and also an entrepreneur, shepherdess at Aliyah Rizq Farm.
Shepherdess. What about a shepherd?
Hi, my name is Ashraf Baka. I am a full-time shepherd. I take care of sheep and goats, and
Your own sheep and goats at home.
Your own sheep and goats at home. Talking about the sheep and goats at home, right? And you guys have to like juggle the sheep and goats in the farm, right? And also at home, right? Let's talk more about juggling these two, right? So the first question is, how do you strike a balance between your business responsibilities and family time?
I'm the sure person that you don't want to get this answer from. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to balance between business time and family time, because the business is very demanding.
Yeah.
You run a farm, right? So your business have to run every day. When people have holidays, you have more work.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
When it comes to festivities, you have more work. So it's actually quite hard for us until we are able to delegate to the current manpower that we have right now and all that. But you were talking about our life in the earlier stages. It was very tough to do. I barely had time for the family, and it was all about developing the business to where it is today and making sure that things work. Right? We only are able to get more of that time in the current years, because things are a bit more stabilized. There's a lot of people handling a lot of things that I was juggling to do in those days, and even at this stage right now, it's still quite hard to find that balance. But you balance it the way you know how, lah. Yeah.
Especially at the foundation part, right? You're building the foundation.
Yes, exactly. When you're building the foundation, because when you're running a business, if your foundation is not right, if you don't put the right bricks in the right place, you will not be able to have a solid empire or solid building that you wanna actually dream and achieve.
Yeah.
You have to put in the hours. You got to put in the effort. You got to be able to go through the motion. You need to be able to be present in the business 24/7.
Yeah.
Right, and that is the tough part.
Yeah.
Things that people or like sometimes even your spouse don't understand. And then when things kick into motion and when things get into fruition, then they start to oh yeah, this is the realization of the dreams that you wanted to build, right? And then when that happens, you tend to be able to have more time for the family because you have already put in certain things in place and your foundation is built on good solid ground. You don't need to really be there. If you ask any other farmer that you know, they are mostly in the farm, right? I am everywhere. I travel here, I travel there, but back in the day, the only place that I travel to is the farm.
Only the farm.
Only the farm, and I'm there most of the time.
Because you were solidifying the concept, right? And the
Yes.
farm itself.
Correct. Now I got sheep at home, right? And I have sheep in the farm.
How many sheep do you have at home?
Can we not call them sheep? Kesian.
Are you breeding that?
We were breeding for a while lah. Yeah, we have 4 sheep at home.
4 sheep.
All males.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 4 boys at home and
And 3 of them are.
they are triplets.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I got 3 boys and triplets. Breeding lah.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah. So we have that and we like to dedicate our weekends for family time. On weekdays to get that is actually quite difficult. But Nabilah is mostly home after work hours to attend to the kids before they sleep, so they get to see her in the morning.
Yeah.
And I get to see her also before they go to bed. Yeah. she's more present with them in that sense. I'm always outside.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting people, I'm traveling, I'm dealing with a lot of business and stuff like that.
Because you're the strategic person in the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. To replicate that takes a long time, and for you to be able to find a person that you trust to be able to put that person in your shoes can also be a
daunting
thing. Yeah, necessary, right? So instead of doing that to one person, you're spreading that to several people. Yeah. So while in the process, you still don't get that balance. I mean, for me, I still don't get that much balance, but I try to make as much time as I can.
Were there any moment where the balance were tipped off way too far from another?
Oh,
And
yes.
How did you actually address it?
I don't meet my kids for, I think, a whole month during our recent Korban.
Oh, okay.
It's early mornings and then early mornings.
You didn't sleep.
You get up like at maybe 7,
Yeah.
and then your work ends at like 2 in the morning. You have a window of maybe about 4 to 5 hours to sleep. And then the next day, you got to do that again for the whole month because it was crunch time, man.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't done, we cannot do what we did lah. So in that period, it was like a sacrifice for us and also for the kids.
Yeah.
Right? They had to be away and they don't see us much. But sometimes it's you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's about we know that time is always very elusive. We're always catching up with time.
Yeah.
And reality is, even if you're not an entrepreneur, or more so when you're an entrepreneur, time is, you are working around the clock.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes the reality is you don't have much time. For me, I intentionally be deliberate in terms of when I spend time with my children. That means it means I need to wake up a lot earlier in the morning so they get to see at least one parent, then I do that.
Yeah.
And if I can, maybe sometimes I would, because after I come back from work, I still need to attend to shepherdess work, right?
Yeah.
Or set certain appointments or meetings. Usually my kids go to bed by 9 or 8:30. So I actually come back home first, attend to them, and then when they're asleep, I actually go back out again. Right? So for me, it's because we don't have the quantity of time.
Yeah.
I'd say how I compensate is the quality of time that we have with each other. That's why usually on weekends we try to avoid as much as possible not having any meetings, because during the weekday everybody gets us. But I always go back to thinking, who are we doing this for? Are we doing this for the other people, or are we doing this actually for ourselves, our family and our children? So what would it mean if here we are saying to our kids, oh, I'm actually doing this for you, but I'm not there with you. right? It will lose the value of what the kind of hustle that we go through. Sometimes I think about what would my kids say to me if this is prolonged, and I can imagine them saying, "Oh, you say you're doing this for me,
Yeah.
but you're never with me. You don't know what I'm up to. You don't know this. You don't know that.
Yeah.
You can't tell me. Then might as well you tak payah. I don't have to have me." So I have those kinds of thoughts sometimes in my head about what my children might say to me.
Yeah.
So I think about how do we attend to what they need according to what their age is at this point in time. So my kids are very young, right? They're coming 3 soon. Their love language is play.
Yeah.
So whenever I get the opportunity with them, we just play with them. We take them out to go have certain experiences, just so that they know that the quality that we have with you, the quality time is really quality time.
I think that goes back to my next question, right? Like in terms of like time management with your children, and also your task management for your business and your work, especially for Nabila, who actually still have your full-time job and also still doing a lot of tasks for Aliyah Rizq Farm, right? What are the techniques that you actually use that actually ensure you to actually still spend quality time with your family?
I guess the first thing for me is intention. Like I said earlier on, you have to set deliberate intentions when you want to, according to the context that you have, what is it that you can do, right? So even if I sleep like 4 a.m. in the morning, I'll still get up to see my kids before they go to school. I'll make it a point to go to work. So recently, I also changed my work hours where I come in a bit later so that I can send my kids to school every day. So they get that window with me in the morning. They, we temankan each other, get ready, makan, breakfast, and then they go to school happy. And then they come back home, and I'm also there,
Yep.
right? So number 1 is setting deliberate intentions. Number 2, I am also very big on not using gadgets in front of my children as much.
Okay.
Right. So of course, you still play with your phone here and there, but when they're around me, as much as possible, the phone is out of sight.
So you can actually focus.
So I can
on them.
actually focus on them, right?
Yeah.
So there's a study that says like if you're even in a meeting and you put your phone on the table,
Yeah.
and it somehow you know that I'm not the most important person in the room just because the phone is there.
Yeah.
Right, so you imagine if you expose that to your kids every single day, that even in their presence, that like your time is limited with them, and
Yeah.
in their presence, you're still occupied with your phone, right? And sometimes I have to admit it happens to the both of us. You're answering message and all that, and the kids will go, "Papa, Papa, tengok ni," and then they had to repeat 3-4 times, and that's why I'll be like, "Babe, put the phone down. Nobody's gonna die if you don't answer the message right now.
Yeah.
The kids need you to. We're doing this for them. We need to be around them, be there for them, right? So that's two things, right? Number 3 is I think for us we are also trying out a different way of parenting,
Yeah.
right? So we try as much as possible to attend to what they're thinking, how they're feeling, because they have big emotions right now.
Yeah.
How do we also not, because sometimes we get very stressed out at work with the business.
Yeah.
As much as possible, we don't bring that home together with the kids, because I think it's not fair for us to unleash on them and then become the punching bag for us.
Yeah.
So that's probably the 3 things that I am very intentional in.
I think for businesses, right, there will be a lot of times where the task will be overloaded, right? So how do you actually prioritize your tasks in your business so that it doesn't affect your personal punya family time?
When there's a lot of workload lah, basically, when there's a lot of workload and you need to attend to family at the same time, you need to know at that point of time what is more important lah, kan? And you need to know at that point of time who is attending to what. Are you having any assistance in that space? Say for example, in this business, in whatever inquiries that I'm getting or in whatever calls I'm getting, is it possible for somebody to actually attend to that instead of me? And when it comes to the family, kan, is it critical enough for me to take action right now? Where's the balance? Where is the importance? Where is your priority? And so it is usually managing it on how you know best lah. Kan.
So it's situational lah.
It's very situational. There's no one size fit all for this lah. You will never know what kind of call you get.
Yeah.
Kan. The issue that maybe is happening is at home could be something that is very serious, very critical. But that also goes the same for what's happening in the business.
Yeah.
And you never know, right? You have to weigh it out lah. You got to weigh it out, and then this is something that happens not just once or twice. It frequently happens.
Yeah.
You know,
You just need to adapt to that particular situation.
you need to know how to manage it. You need to know how to manage it. You need to be able to have an extra pair of hands somewhere that can help you with managing this as well.
I think sometimes it's not easy. We've had quite a number of situations where the family needed him, but he couldn't be around.
Yeah.
Right? There was one time when my youngest was actually admitted to the ICU.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was the day where he was traveling out to JB because there was a group of investors coming to the farm. And that was really hard for me because my boy had difficulty breathing. I rushed him to the A&E.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like tiba-tiba masuk HDU, masuk ICU.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
like really big and that was really overwhelming.
How did you guys actually overcome that situation?
So I think he asked me whether he should come back. And I told him, I mean, emotionally, right, ideally, come back lah. Nak you ke ICU, takkan you tak balik kan? But at the same time, he was already there, and there was a group of people coming in the next day. So I think that point in time, it was really needing to have that decision that, okay, I mean, I think I can handle him. I told him what I needed. I said, because sometimes when he goes to the farm, signal tak ada. He's very engrossed in his work. He doesn't check in on me. Or, you know, and in that situation I told him, you better message me and check in on us because this would be very overwhelming for me. Right? So and I need to know that I can have access to you in case of any emergency. Especially when they start the line. So give me like a list of names and numbers and everything that if I can't get through to you, I can call. I can, you know, if something happens, right? So at that point in time, the decision was for him to stay, and I managed the hospital. So thank God I had my parents around because my parents are not usually in Singapore because they reside in Brunei. So thank God that time my parents
They were
were
there.
around.
They were in town.
So they could attend to the other boys at home, and then I was at the hospital. And when I needed a break, they come to the hospital, and I go back home.
I wanted to call Ami from the Golden Nuggets because he's a nurse.
Oh.
Yeah, but, at that point of time, he haven't invested in me.
Yeah, okay. I think
I was the group of investors.
He was the group of investors that was going. That's why he couldn't
you
be
were
around.
the part of the investor. Oh, I see. Okay. I understand. Okay, I think it goes back to my next question, right? In terms of like juggling your time and tasks with business and personal and family time, right? What do you think of the importance of being a good role model for your children?
I mean, the short answer to that is I think it's really important. We have to walk the talk, right? I think there was some moments where I find that my boys, because they're a bit more verbal now, they parrot what either dad says or papa say or what Umi says, right? And I'm like, ya Allah, maybe sometimes we just say it once, and then suddenly we
Like
hear
what?
them. Like apa like which I say, for example, when I'm angry, I'm like, stop it with my hand like this. So when they were fighting among each other, they're like, stop it, and I'm like,
Oh my
whoa.
God.
My son Yusuf,
Yeah.
he would one random occasion he just comes to me and he just threw something. And he, Papa, yes. Astaghfirullahalazim. Apa ni?
Oh, that's you lah.
That's me scolding him if he does something.
Yeah.
Then he'd go and purposely do it and then tell me Astaghfirullahalazim.
Oh my God.
Apa ni?
Yeah,
Allah
so
budak ni.
definitely I think there's a lot of moments like that where we're like, hey, we need to be careful about what we say.
Yeah. So
Right.
how do you actually ensure that your children actually see you guys as like a positive example?
I mean, like I say, we have to be deliberate in our actions. Right, so you cannot just say it. You have to walk the talk, right? So, like, say for example, I'm teaching my kids to because they will gado, they'll get into fights, right? So I'm teaching them to apologize, and it has to start from me, right? So if I do something with my voice, I raise my voice, ke apa, and I will tell them, okay, Umi apologize for shouting at you. I'm angry, but I shouldn't have shouted at you, right? So I'm teaching them that. So like, say if they hit each other, then I'll say, one boy will say, okay, Soleh, please forgive me for hitting you, because I'm teaching them that when you ask for forgiveness, you have to be specific about the forgiveness. And then the other one will say, okay, I forgive you, and then they hug it out. So sometimes when I can see them do that on themselves, but when I get too angry ke apa, sometimes they will tell me, Umi, calm down, okay, calm down, because that's what I say to them. So we really have to walk the talk. And if say we're teaching them about apology, it has to start from us when we're not, when we've gone a bit overboard.
We millennials, we don't get this kind of parenting,
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is breaking out of that cycle. It's not easy, I tell you. And macam, we made a mistake. The first thing you think about, kan, is it a cane, a belt, a hanger, or a baseball bat?
Or anything
within
controller TV or
what time do I go home, and do I tell them I'm coming back? Kan? Now it's not like that. Now it's very what do you call it? Progressive lah. Right? You can be that example to your kid. You can show them that you are compassionate, and you can also understand that they are still in that stage of learning, and they are in that stage of yearning as well. That you need to give them, give and take lah, so that they also have those values among themselves to also practice, kan. So if you don't set the example right now, then it becomes like what we experience. Kan? The fight or flight. Today when I'm still a kid, I'm still able to flight. Bapak kerja, lari masuk toilet. Bapak kerja, lari bawa ketiak nenek. Kind of thing, kan. And then when you get older, you start fighting with your parents, right? You start fighting with your parents. You start arguing with them. Like, you, when I was young, you beat me. Then I got nobody to talk to. And then you, when I was younger, I tried to talk to you about things, but you never want to listen. We don't want that kind of what do you call it, feedback from our kids, kan? So the change is necessary.
And the change have to start from us.
From us. And it is not easy. You got to take it, with a pinch of salt lah. Once in a while you tend to macam termarah, kan, macam ni budak aku tengah semak kat sini, kau dekat sana kau dah bebel, nangis, all this meltdown, whatever. In that moment you'll feel like, can you just don't come near me, kan? But if your conscience hit you, you would be telling yourself otherwise. You'll be telling yourself like, they're actually calling out for you. They're actually asking you to attend to them. They just do not know how, because they're still at that age. And then that changes as they grow up. But they need to be able to feel that sense of connection with the parents. Be able to grow up and live with that, and let that bond grow. Rather than when you grow up and see your kids going astray, and then you wonder why. You are the problem lah. Kan? So,
and I think for us, we always need to remind each other. Right, so if I have certain things that I've read, I've understood, and whatever, so I'll tell him. So our principle is we need to be on a united front, right? So what I am teaching the kids has to be the same thing that you follow through. Whatever that you're teaching the kids, I have to follow through. So it cannot be like you buat benda lain, I buat benda lain. It's like opposite from each other, right? So I think really we talk about role model, kan? It has to start from us, because we are the person. When I say this, because children are, I guess, one of the few beings on earth that loves you unconditionally. The love they have for you knows no bounds. Like, it's almost like you cannot do any wrong. Right? And parents, we make a lot of mistakes. Too many sometimes. So how do we learn to, and sometimes how we are parenting our kids is because of how we are parented. And sometimes we want to break away from that. And it can be quite a healing or therapeutic journey for yourself that, you're attending to your child in a different way that you wish you were attended to when you were young.
Yeah.
And your hope is, maybe of course, you don't know what's the outcome, but at least in the process, you're trying to do the right thing. And if you mess up, you apologize. Right? And now sometimes I see my kids when I'm getting flustered and all that, they can ask me, Umi, you angry? I said, yes, I'm angry. And I teach them, you can be angry, but we don't hate. We don't kick. We don't. So it's setting certain boundaries when we're parenting them lah.
I think
Not
it's
easy.
Yeah.
Not easy,
Is it?
but
I think it's interesting that you actually mentioned about being angry, right? And especially as a parent who is running a business or don't even have to run a business lah. You can actually just be an employee and you are having stress from your business and your work.
yep.
How do a parent can actually, control their emotions and not bring the work stress in the family?
If you ask me lah,
Yeah.
if you answer, you get a different answer.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Okay, if you ask me, okay, work is work.
Yeah,
Okay, your kids will not understand it at this stage,
definitely, yeah.
right? So if you set that aside and just attend to your kids when you need to attend to your kids, and they are kids, you should be a kid as well, right? That's the only way they know how.
Yeah.
Kan? And they mirror after you. They take on after you as an example to follow.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want them to see this busy person and not have time for them when you are at home. And you don't want them to be reluctant to be spending time with you because they think that they don't get much out of you.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can just chuck that maybe 1 or 2 hours and spend like real quality time with your children, they would appreciate you more than you spend 5-10 minutes in pockets every day, but then they don't get the quality out of you.
I think most people actually struggle to do that, right?
Yeah.
To actually, put their work aside because they are already overwhelmed and it's actually bothering their mind.
Yeah.
And especially when they are spending quality time with their family, it is still in their mind.
I have one tip for you. I'm as busy as a bee can get. Yeah. And I can set that time for my kids on the weekend, hours at a time, and not attend to my phone. How I do it? Very simple. Keep it in your mind.
Okay.
Keep it in your mind. If they are looking for you, you're important. If you're important, people can wait. Dah. Right?
Yeah.
So, my kids are important right now. They are looking for me. You all can wait.
Yes.
And nobody have the right to not understand that. Because I've been attending to this every day. I deserve my time with my family for a while. And then when I attend to you, I have all the time to focus on what I need to attend to. Right? So you have to keep that in your head. If you're important, people can wait. What's more important is who's looking up to you.
Goes back to setting a good role model also.
Yes.
What's your point of view, Nabilah?
When it comes to anger and how to control,
Yeah.
like I think I said this briefly in the previous episode that as adults we need to learn how to self-regulate. Especially when, like right now, my parenting journeys, I have young children who are tantruming beautifully because they're expressing themselves,
Yeah.
right? And they are learning language, they're learning expressions and things they can and cannot do. So and children can be very triggering, especially when you're stressed out, when you're having issues in your marriage, when like for us, we have triplets. Sometimes the tantrum is one after the other. So by the third tantrum, you're like up here, you like almost cannot take it anymore.
Yeah.
But what I find that helps me is I need to regulate me in order to help my kids regulate themselves because they don't know. They're 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
They don't know how to regulate. Kalau kita as adult, we sometimes falter when we want to regulate our own emotions. So you can't expect that out of a kid. So the only way a kid can regulate how they feel is when the adult is regulated and you have the space and capacity to attend to your kids when they're needing you. right? So there are times when I don't have the capacity. That's why I have to call him in, or
So,
get.
so he's your support system.
He is my support system,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he is the father of my children, and
Yeah.
he's also my spouse. So if I don't have the capacity, I will tell him, I tak boleh, I need to just like sit out for a while, and then baru I can come back, because I know my tank is dipping, and I
Yeah.
know if I stay there, I might like go and shout and whatever, which I don't want to do as much as possible. So I need to learn how to tap out so I can tap in.
What do you think about people who actually don't have a partner to as a support system and they are raising the kids alone?
I mean, I respect single parent.
Yeah.
I say parent because there's a lot of single mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
I have mad respect for that, for them, because they're doing something really, really hard. I mean, I can relate to the feeling, because Ashraf travels so often. Sometimes I feel I'm a single parent, and I have told him that, like, sometimes I feel like I'm a single parent. I handle everything, in our squabbles, or even when I'm really drained. So when I'm not saying that that's how single parents are doing it, but I can relate to the feeling from time to time. I mean, it goes back to the skills that we have to learn as a parent, whether single or a family nucleus. We have to, like you say, children are looking to us as role models.
Yeah.
Right? So whether you're single, married, divorced, or widowed, it starts from us first. And if we are at a point where we need help, we need to seek for help.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot pour from an empty cup. So your cup you need to fill it up from somewhere. If your spouse can do that for you, fantastic. If you don't have a spouse, find a good support system. Right? If you don't have a good support system, find yourself a therapist. Right now, I feel like we have so much richness in knowledge that are easily accessible.
Yeah.
All you need to do is access it and find a way for it to fill up your cup so that you can pour from it.
Talking about support system, right? Let's talk about support system, but the point of view as from the children, from the children points of view. Especially during the teenage phase, right? So I'm gonna share my personal experience. So when I was a teenager, I had a few problems that I had, right, with my friends or my school, and my parents are usually busy with their work, right? My dad would be busy with his work, and my mom would always advise me to just solat and ngaji. So to me, as a teenager, I felt that was not the solution because I was a teenager, right? And I felt that I didn't had my parents as my support system. And I felt that it actually kind of affected me as a teenager. And I made the wrong company be my support system because they were there at that particular point of time. How do you think parents can actually, if parents who have teenager children, right, or gonna be, their children are gonna be in the transition phase to be a teenager, how can they actually handle this situation?
I mean, in my line of work, I work with a lot of teenagers too. And I have a younger sister who is 12 years younger than I am. So when
10 years younger?
12 years younger.
12 years younger?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
so
The gap.
The gap, right? So sometimes I feel like I'm a parent when she's teenagering, right? So the thought that comes to my mind is we are often seeking for connection.
Yeah.
And when there's a disconnect, that's when you find somewhere else to find the connection. And that's exactly what happened to you.
Yeah.
Right? You felt disconnected from your family members.
Yeah.
And that was unfortunate. And you find somewhere else to connect. Right? So as parents, at least as even with my sister, when I was quote unquote being kakak, helping her through her teenage rebels, it's very easy to go on a judgmental mode. It's very easy because the intention is you always want the best for the other person, and you sometimes know, oh my God, you're doing the wrong thing, and you end up advising and all that. And that's what I initially did with my sister. At least that's my experience with the teenager lah,
Yeah.
right? Or even I see that in the parents that I meet. We're very quick to not macam fix it, and we think that whatever solutions we give
We have to fix it.
is we're solutioning.
Yeah.
But sometimes I tell the parents to take a step back, and I ask them, have you taken the time to listen to your teenager and hear what is it that they're struggling with?
Yeah.
And most of the time they haven't, right? So at least in my therapeutic space, I create that space for the teenager to speak out about what is it that's troubling them,
Yeah.
and how sometimes what the parents is doing, which is very hard to hear, is affecting them in that manner.
Yeah.
So sometimes bila kita kupas, we go through the different layer, they're like, oh, I didn't know that this is the struggle that you're having.
Yeah.
I thought that of course, parents, your parents' advice was not wrong. To solat and ngaji was not wrong.
Yeah, it was not wrong.
But it was not the only thing that you needed at that point in time.
Yeah.
So as parents, how do you begin to listen and hear what your children are experiencing,
Yeah.
for you to provide that space where you can listen to what they're needing?
Yes.
And then, so there's this thing that I do in therapy, right? There's 3H.
3H, yeah.
Whenever somebody is having a conversation with you, you ask them this 3H. One, when you're telling me this problem or situation, do you want to be helped? Do you want to be hugged? Or do you want to be heard? Right? Because sometimes you come to your spouse, or your children come to you, they don't want you to help them.
Yeah.
They already have the answer in their head. They just want to be heard
To be heard, yeah.
and then hugged, right? Sometimes they will come to you with wanting to have solutions. So they want to be helped. So in communication, these are, I think, the three. And this doesn't come from me. Okay, I got it from somewhere else. This 3H, which I think is a very powerful communication tool. So you ask your spouse, you can ask your children, you can ask your friends, do you want to be helped? Do you want to be hugged? Or do you want to be heard? And I think that would make a huge difference, especially when you're communicating with teenagers.
Yeah.
Also, you grow up in different phases again.
Yeah.
So you are toddling, and then you are preschooling,
Schooling, yeah.
and then you go into primary, and then you go into secondary, and then your teenage lives. In different stages
Phases.
of your life, the importance of the parent is of a different context.
Yeah.
It's of a different association. It's of a different need.
Yeah.
And you as a parent need to also understand at that particular stage, what is it that needs attending to. And you cannot be attending to a teenager like you attend your toddler.
Yeah.
You cannot be attending to your primary school kid like how you attend to a teenager. It's not right. You need to find that balance, kan? And while you are at it, you need to always remember that when they look for you, you actually hold that level of importance in their mind and heart for them to actually seek out to you. You see? So then, if that is the case, then you should be at the best of it lah, taking them seriously. And if they are looking to you, like what Nabilah said, what is it that you want? Are these 3 H's in the list of what you are asking of me?
Yeah.
And how urgent is this that you need me to attend to it?
Yeah.
And how much impact can you deliver for them to trust you in the days and years to come, that, if I'm going to call my dad, if I'm going to call my mom, in a heartbeat, they will come and attend to me. Right? You befriend them in that way for them to trust you enough, for them to open up, and for you as parents to not second guess what your kids are doing.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah.
Then in that space that you have with them, you can see who they are mixing with. Are they good or bad company?
Yeah.
What can you advise them? How do they take your advice and relate to what they're experiencing with their peers?
Yeah.
And how they are actually performing in school. What kind of people to look out for and what kind of people to watch out for.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know, because like how you said then, as long as somebody listens to me, as long as somebody gives me that space, I feel like I'm being attended to. And then when I go into that comfort zone, I'm not sure who these people are.
Yeah.
What can they do for me? I just know that I'm happy here. Right? But if they can have that same space and zone that they have with their parents, or with good company, their cousins or whatever, What's the difference? The difference is you know rather than you don't.
Yeah. So for me, so what happened was I went to the wrong company for a while, but then I actually personally found out that I can't be in this company for too long, because if I were to be in that company for too long, in 5 years' time, I'll be worse, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I started to be alone, right? So I distracted myself. So that's where I like studied a lot about businesses, and I distract myself towards that. At first, it was very lonely, but then it's like a habit. So I'm okay being alone anywhere because of that situation, and I started to have those deep questions about life. I'm not sure if other people also have that kind of deep questions, like questions on why am I here, why I exist.
Yep.
Like, is it some like certain algorithm that got made? No, what's the purpose, right?
Yes.
Right. So personally, this is very personal, but I even cried, right? And because I don't know what especially like in terms of life, like why I existed, and like is even the religion I'm in is actually the right religion, or
Right.
is just because I'm born in this religion in the family.
Right.
So it's those kind of deep questions that I had. And I didn't want to share it to my parents because I know how my parents will react.
Yeah.
So I had to figure that out myself.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think it also goes back to how your childhood has impacted you, right? Even if it's a rough childhood, like how bad your parents actually treat you, doesn't mean that it's gonna be you're gonna be that bad person in the future, right? As an adult.
Definitely.
I totally feel that we can't only talk about our childhood only, because we also have our own decisions that we can actually make throughout our journey in our life.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's when I thank you for sharing this story. I was a child who had a lot of deep thoughts too.
Okay.
I had, and if you have conversation with my sister, she will tell you that I exposed her to this deep philosophical thinking very early stage in her life, right?
Okay, okay.
'Cause I think these are important questions for us to discover. There's a quote that says, "Lost is a lovely place to find yourself," and sometimes life is so humorous in that way. I find that sometimes when we hit rock bottom, that's when we learn how to climb up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes I feel like it's easy for us to, not easy lah, I think because of how we were brought up, sometimes we say, no, my parents didn't do this, my parents didn't do that, and maybe true, they didn't do it. But I would like to invite this idea of compassion, that your parents was doing what they knew best at that point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right? They were, as much as you were a first time kid or a first time teenager, they were also first time parents to a kid and first time parents to a teenager.
Yeah.
Right? And I would love to think that, parents do not set out with the intention to hurt.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes because of how they were parented, they think that this is the right way of parenting. Right? So I think we need to have a give and take in terms of what your parents have done to you and the agency that you actually have as an individual who's growing up to make decisions for yourself. It's a balance of both. It's never one or the other.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I mean, I'm glad that you, if we can see the hikmah behind it, right? Perhaps you had certain foundations that was right by your parents, that was enough to make you have an alarm bell go on and say, if I continue in this crowd, I'm going to go to doom if I do it, right? So you had some internal system already built in. Maybe something that your parents did that was right.
Yeah.
And then you had your own internal voice and you were listening to your own internal voice.
Yeah.
Right? And then you had a moment where you were discovering and asking yourself philosophical questions that has perhaps bear fruit right now, If you didn't go through that process, you might maybe not be as strong in your faith, or you might not have appreciated the relationship you have with your parents now.
Yeah.
Right? So some of those things are our learning, and I call this wisdom in hindsight. When we were going through it, we didn't know.
Yeah.
That's why we always have a if only I kind of
only,
questions, right? If only my parents did this, if only I did this instead. But sometimes the wisdom is only done in hindsight after you've gone through it.
Yeah.
I think same with parents too, that there are moments where they didn't realize what they were doing was damaging. They had no clue that,
They had no
because
clue.
in their mind it was a different narrative,
Yeah.
until some crisis happened and you bring it out, and then they're like, that was not my intent, and I didn't know any better, and then that's when the repairing of the relationship can happen.
Yeah. For someone who actually went through a rough childhood, right, and it is actually affecting them till now, right, and they react to things depending on how they were, the parents or the ones in their surrounding, like maybe guardian or the friends that they have, or the cousins, or for the ones who are actually affected, and they are bad. Not saying bad. They are very heavily impacted based on their childhood, right? So how can one start to think like how we thought?
I think you can take this.
You mean how to get out of that circle
Yeah, how to
of
get
company? How to choose the right friends?
how to choose the right friend, how to think in a better angle, a
positive
better
way.
perspective.
As a child or as a parent?
As a child,
As a child.
yeah,
You see, this is the problem, eh? The problem is, our system doesn't allow for you to be choosing where your streams are.
yeah,
Right? When you go to a certain stream, you meet certain kind of people. It is somewhat
Socially engineered.
socially engineered, right? Sometimes you don't have a choice, but to say, yeah, I have to be friends with this guy because he is my classmate.
yeah,
Sometimes you don't have the choice, but teacher partnered me with this guy,
yeah,
and then I didn't know how or what kind of person he was, but then it sounds like fun,
yeah,
right? To draw that line, right? To draw that line is a very what do you call it? Tricky business. Okay, because you never know until you go and cross that bridge.
yeah,
You never understand until you are able to be told that that is right or that's wrong.
yeah,
Nobody can tell you at that age, right? That drinking is bad, right? Why? Because everybody drinks, right? Can anybody tell you that you can't be holding hands with a girl in public? I see a lot of people doing it out there.
yeah.
It's tricky.
Tricky, yeah,
And that engineering is going on to a point where you are not able to actually put an emphasis to control unless your parents are in play.
understand.
There needs to be a certain level of parental control. And for the parents to actually give them like a telltale sign of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah,
To be given the advice at an age to be preparing them for a certain phase of their life. Kan? It's very important to me lah. If let's say you're now in primary school, you're going to be taking your O-level soon, kan? Just before the point where you hit puberty, you got to tell them about puberty. You got to prepare them ahead.
Yeah.
What happens during puberty? This is what you feel. This is what you're going through. This is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see your friends endure as well.
yeah,
And then when you get to secondary school, lower sec, upper sec, in the lower and the upper, what is the difference? What can you do and what you cannot do? What would you get into trouble with Papa if Papa sees you doing? What can Papa condone and what Papa cannot. You put those kind of controls. So they understand that if he doesn't like it, right, something is not right with it. You know, that needs to come into play because you never know what happens in school because you're not there to physically see it.
Yeah.
Kan? Yeah. And then you have the social circle. You are outside. You're mixing with a lot of people as well. Kan? Maybe your parents send you for tuition. Suddenly you meet this guy. And then this guy is telling you, bro, don't go tuition. Go tuition for what? Never mind lah. Still first quarter of the year. Wait until midterm then start going to tuition properly lah.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, right? Whether is it right or wrong, you know what.
Yeah.
But whether you're swayed by it, it's your own choice.
I think that the values that your parents instill on you has to be, that's the foundations.
Yep.
Whether we like it or not, parents, we play a very crucial role in setting the foundations. Will your children follow all the foundations? Maybe not, right? But do we still put these values in place? Yes, we have to, right? So that becomes an internal built-in system for the child to realize whether they're 12, 15, or maybe later at 25. But the foundations has to be built by the parents one way or another. And we have to admit that the times are changing and they're changing rapidly.
Yeah.
Right? What parents are going through now is not are things that they never went through before. And what perhaps our children will be going through in the future are things that we also cannot anticipate. So the learning curve is always steep when it comes to the parenting journey. And the learning curve is also equally steep for the child who's living this world as rapidly changing as it is. Right? So that's why I think perhaps communication is always important. Right now, we talk about open communication, but we also learn how to set boundaries. Because that's important. Especially we have our faith and our religion. And we have certain things that we can and cannot do based on the religion. You cannot right a wrong, or you cannot wrong a right either, right? So there are certain values that we need to put in place for them to hold on to, whether they hold on to very early on in life or they hold on to later on in life. For me, that's like Allah's work.
Yeah.
Right? But do we still have to do it? We have to do it anyways. I'm reminded of this hadith where even if if tomorrow you know it's Qiyamah, you have a seed in front of you, you plant the seed. So that's how I think about parenting as well. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. You have no idea whether what you're planting today will bear fruit, but you plant it anyway the best way you know how to do it. And what the outcome becomes is what you'll see as it goes along. There's no way for you to predict either.
It's interesting that you actually mentioned about instilling value in your children. Do you think it's possible to instill the value of an entrepreneur in your children?
Of course, yes.
Because as my personal experience, my dad actually taught me to sell stickers in primary school when I was only primary 2. Right. And I make that as a hobby. So I would go to the bookstore, right? I would buy that 1-page stickers. Like there will be 20 to 30 stickers. I'll buy that for like $3. And I would go to the class, and I would talk to my friends beside me. Right, hey, you wanna buy my sticker? One or the big one is like 50 cents. The smaller one is like around 30 cents. So, what do you think about instilling value, entrepreneurship value in your children?
You see, I don't want to force my kids to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I also do not want to tell them that this is the right thing to do. I want them to find their path.
Okay.
And look at me as the entrepreneur that they know by heart, and tell me, is this what you want to become? Is this the path that you want to take in the space that you love? Is this what you want to do out of it?
Yeah.
To instill a person to becoming an entrepreneur from when they are young is very easy. Stop giving them money. Done.
Or give them a bit of money and ask them how you're growing it.
Yes. I got $1.50 for my school.
Yeah.
Pocket money. You spend $1 in school. What you do with 50 cents? You add rice.
Yeah.
So you get this, right? Or you put the 50 cents to good use. So my father and my mother were teaching me those values.
I see.
And if I do something wrong, they will reduce my pocket money.
I see.
If you do not want to what do you call it? If you do not want to behave, this is how I get reprimanded. One way lah. And then if I do not want to eat in school,
Yep.
I can always eat at home. Home is very near. So you have a choice. You walk home, eat, come back to school, eat in school out of convenience and don't get to buy what you want. Or eat at home, use that money, roll it, come back home, give food to your parents.
Yeah.
What do you want? You can decide. Even with that amount of money, you can teach them how to become entrepreneurs, right? Very simple. And then instilling the right values
The right values, yeah.
in how they are becoming an entrepreneur is what is important. You don't cheat people.
You have to be
You
honest.
got to be honest. You don't tell people that you're selling them something, then at the end of the day they don't get what they want or they deserve.
Yeah.
Kan? That is important.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur easy. To be a successful one, different.
Different.
So it's like a combination of like financial literacy,
Mm.
you know, creative thinking, cognitive skills,
Yeah.
what kind of decisions you make when you're emotional, all of those things they will learn along the way, right? But I like what Ashraf said when it's about what kind of values are you instilling.
Yeah.
To be a successful entrepreneur, what are some of the core values? Perhaps it's the grit and the dedication. Perhaps it's about exploring passion. It's about being honest, right? It's about finding the solution to a certain problem, right? So it's not really the entrepreneur skills, but how do we instill these values first? That at least if, for example, any of our kids want to be entrepreneurs, you know that their values are in the right place.
Yeah.
That's more important for us than whether our kids become entrepreneurs or not. We need them to be good people first.
Be a human being first.
Be a good person first, and that has to of course start from us as their role models. So then how do we, so that means whatever they want to be,
Yeah.
they have those values to carry with them.
You know when you're still a child, kan?
Yeah.
What our parents used to do to us, you know, right?
Which
think-
ones?
Which one?
See, send this guy to sailing, see if he likes it. Send him to take violin classes. Dia suka tak?
Yeah.
Get him to learn the piano. Does it stick with him? Get him to take this CCA. Does he like it or not? Then your parent would probably ask you when you get home, kan? How okay not? No okay. Never mind, change. Go karate. No, don't like. Never mind, go silat. You go through that motion, kan?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you try to fine tune with what you like, but then that is the space or the sphere of what level limited access you have
Yeah.
to whatever is available in the school that you are in.
Yeah.
Then compared to you go and see what's available in school, you choose. You go and find out. Go and do it. If it's not in school, outside where? Tell me where is it. Then after you go there. Not in school, never mind. Outside also no problem. As long as you enjoy it, don't waste your time. Kan? And then how to make them an entrepreneur out of it. Kan? Okay, now I send you there, right? You got to pay Papa back. Pay me back. You want to go for this, right? You like it, right? Now how you going to pay me back? You can do something about it with it. They go and figure it out.
Let them figure it out.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you must be resourceful.
Yeah.
You must be able to manage your time well.
Yeah.
You must be able to get this money back. And you must be able to pay your investor, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Simple. But the value that they bring back to you is different. Where did they get the money from? How did they earn? What's the percentage that they take? Who were they dealing with? How much were they selling? All of those things you need to ask. Then you know, this boy, when he's growing up, he learned from what, and you know the mistakes, you can tell him there and then so that he can fix it. Then he knows that you know your value and he got it from you.
Amazing. After instilling values in the children and they start to pick up all these values, right? What are some best practices for parents to actually give to a children?
Tak suka sepak je.
Astaghfirullahalazim. Apa ni?
Apa
Astaghfirullahalazim. Papa apa ni?
Apa ni? Yusof.
Actually, if you ask me best practice in entrepreneurship lah.
Sell sticker.
Sell sticker, sell eraser kan. Best practice would be to always have a sounding board. And
Have a what?
sounding board.
Sounding board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a sounding board before you make any decisions. Have like a few people that you can talk with.
Yep.
That they can actually relate with. Maybe if it is you, their siblings, their maybe grandparents, so that they are able to get a good sense of things, and before they decide to do something with it.
Yeah.
And while they are doing it, to have the same people to be the sounding board, to have their checks and balances done. And do not allow them to be out there feeling alone like every entrepreneur does. Kick out that stigma. Or if you're a businessman, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to do it alone. Stop doing that. Show them that being an entrepreneur gives you this support system, and it starts from home.
Yeah.
And if it starts from home, who can stop you from doing it? So that's my two major takeaways lah. That if home supports you, inshallah nothing can stop you. Second, if the support system is also coming from home, your sounding board is from home, and then when you go out there and tell people that you are doing this and you're getting support and whatever, what does it take to stop you from being successful? Nothing.
I mean, I wish there's a manual for parenting.
Yeah, there's no manual for
There
parenting.
is no
right?
there is no manual.
There's
for
no
parenting.
manual for parenting. Parenting is manual.
Parenting is manual. It's not automatic.
It's not automatic.
Because I think different parents carry with them different histories.
Yeah.
And that history somehow is passed on to the next generation, and the kids are also building their own history on their own, right? So I can't really answer like what's the best practice, because I think it's very unique to each family members. But ultimately, if there can be like a principle behind it, is for me it's remembering that whatever I'm doing, I have to have a balance between what I'm doing for myself as an individual.
Yeah.
Right? And if I am true to who I am as a person, I am genuine, and I am as an adult, I feel like we need to always be in a journey of discovering who we are as a person and healing our own wounds.
Yeah.
In whatever way you go for therapy, whatever aspect it is, right? So that your children get the best version of who you are at different stages of their life.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if we have the value of learning, that, or have the value of we can make mistakes and we learn from it, so the value is still learning. I think as we go along the ways, even if we make mistakes, we're learning together with our children.
Thank you so much for sharing all these amazing tips and advices.
Later we just give you the bill lah.
This is amazing tips and advices for, especially when being a parent as an entrepreneur, and how you can actually instill and how you can actually balance but not balance, and see how you can actually manage depending on the particular situation like you actually mentioned. And definitely really amazing, and a lot of golden nuggets that we can actually